The dark side of dissociated that no one wants to talk about. Now, before I get into this, I know fully well that people are already writing in the comments saying I've had a bad take on this and I don't know anything about it, but all I can ask is that you at least watch the video before coming to your own conclusion and making up your mind on this person. The things I point out in this video to me are pretty conclusive evidence that there are certainly some red flags to do with this YouTuber and probably some stuff that you guys haven't even heard about. And this is Dissociated, one of the leading content creators focusing on the dissociative identity disorder. And according to her YouTube channel, every single one of her videos is dedicated to bravely challenging against the stigma surrounding trauma-based mental illness. Although people that actually suffer with the diagnosis probably wouldn't agree with that statement. And well, let's put her valiant mission and vision core values thingy to the test, shall we? While we've been debunking fake DID cases and supposed advocates for some time now, I've got to admit, dissociative is a whole different ballgame altogether. And not in a good way. What sets her apart from Solar System, Myriad, Pink Sugar Fairies, and the rest of the crew is that she's got quite the serious platform, with around 1.1 million subscribers on YouTube and around 21,000 followers on TikTok, and even has her own personal website. Cool. I don't think I've ever messed with someone before that has had their own personal website. This truly is dangerous territory. So please leave a like for my bravery. And unlike those recent DID fakers we've had the pleasure of exposing before, who churn out cringeworthy TikToks for clout and maybe a couple of bucks, dissociative means business. She presents herself as a very noble advocate on her channel. But is she? Sure, her platforms paint a pretty picture with all the right words, but peel back the layers and what do you find? Just a smorgasbord of shady acts that don't quite align with her preachings. Like lying to set up fundraisers, throwing sexual innuendos towards underage followers on an 18+ account, pretending to be a mental health professor, and demeaning other doctors with decades of experience, harassing those who call her out, and the list goes on. Which, don't worry, we'll get through later on in this video, and you might actually recognize Dissociative, because I covered a video about her on my channel before, and if you haven't seen it yet, you can watch it after this one. She's also one of the 3 systems or individuals with DID who appeared on Anthony Padilla's channel in 2020, which has amassed 23 million views now, and her face actually is presented on that thumbnail boasting about 22+ alters. So yeah, naturally every soul who clicked on that video instantly became an expert on her, and her alters are particularly famous now as well. Lucky for her. Surprisingly, not many are criticizing her, and probably one reason is that she was present even before faking DID became popular, and whenever people call her out for her behavior, she's known for quickly cleaning up everything, like hitting the delete button on comments across social media platforms, making it seem like she's untouchable. But the thing is, behind the scenes, there's a whole army sounding off on Reddit. For example, people whom she stole alters from, and that's just one of many issues that don't come up on her main platform, YouTube, because it tells a different story. Dissociative swiftly shuts down any opposition. So, Dissociated started her YouTube channel back in 2018, not just as a channel or a brand, but as the name of their system. Google says her legal name is Chloe Wilkinson. She also claims to have around 25 alters, including, and get ready for, Chloe, Kyle, Nadia, Sally, Ruby, Nina, Jade, Omega, Amia, Mary, Mara, Nin, Jake, Mike, Gregory, Jack, Damien, Dark, Glass, Jewel, Kem, R, Dole, and Alexandra. Wow, I don't think there's any names left. And with so many names, it's almost like an entire class roster. So let's just stick to calling her Dee Dee. for short, because we wouldn't want to use the name of a wrong alter in this video. And just to clarify, I'm definitely not here to play doctor or make any wild assumptions about her. Just to be clear, I won't be making any claims about Dee Dee's condition. It's your call. I'll stick to the facts and let you have the honor of figuring this one out. So I want to start with some red flags in her DID story that many have actually noticed. Some evidence suggests she self-diagnosed and looked up symptoms before getting an official diagnosis. For example, she mentions being introduced to DID by a therapist in late 2014 or early 2015. She claims this therapist suggests she might have DID, but later she says the same therapist in Colchester knew nothing about DID until she brought it up herself. So who really put the idea in her head? Yes, you guessed it, it's her. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? I mean, in the same video, she conveniently remembers seeing this therapist before leaving university, contradicting her whole diagnosis after expulsion tale. This article talks about a fundraiser she started to pay for her treatment. Mind you guys, she was asking for £3,000 and portraying as a student on a break, conveniently omitting any mention of expulsion. I guess she just decided to take a mental health hiatus, all on her own. Oh, and in another fundraiser, she raised £1,000, even though in all of her other videos posted before about getting treatment and even getting that cash, she somehow never managed to make it back to school. Classic. Her story of events doesn't really match up, even her account of her diagnosis. She mentioned before that Remy Ackerman from Pottergate Centre diagnosed her, but as I just explained, a random doctor brought up the possibility of DID to her. But then she stated that she independently learned about DID and discussed it with her own therapist. Well, isn't that just peachy? We're all just left scratching our heads here, unsure of what to buy into at this point. Anyway, whether she's diagnosed herself or not, using her condition to get money for school when she didn't go back is pretty awful. She also, in her descriptions, offers serious advice about mental health issues without any real qualifications. Now let's check out her version, as she claims it on her page. I'll just read one out because there's a ton of them. Developing unique, scientifically backed and highly informed explanations of mental health disorders such as depression, anxiety, depersonalization, dissociation, otherwise specified as dissociative disorder, OSDD, post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, complex PTSD, dissociative identity disorder, DID, catatonia, schizophrenia, chronic fatigue syndrome, and more. Additionally, we cover neurological and immune responses, physical and cognitive functions, and adaptations, the process of gaining a diagnosis, how to seek help, supporting others with mental illness, therapy, and the history of mental health disorders. Wow, that's so much to wrap up. Okay, so despite repeatedly stating that she is not a professional, her version seems to imply otherwise. Dee Dee claims to offer scientifically backed up explanations of various mental health disorders, along with insights into neurological and immune responses, physical and cognitive functions, and more. But we've got to wonder, how can she be an expert on all of these without proper training? There's only so many YouTube tutorials you can watch in one day. I mean, yes, sure, she definitely brings attention to mental health matters, which is nice, but let's not forget she lacks the qualifications to fully explain or advise on these serious topics. And seriously though, even if you look up real doctors online, you couldn't possibly tackle all mental health issues at once. Because, you know, it's pretty darn complex for each one of us. And just because you might have something certainly does not make you an expert in any means. Like I've stated countless times at this point, yes, I have a head twitch. That does not now make me an expert in Tourette's. And here she is saying she's not a mental health doctor, but jumping into these deep topics nonetheless. And I'm sorry guys, but I'm not buying into her shit at all. And keep in mind, she never completed college, which means she doesn't hold a proper license. I'm not throwing shade at those who skipped out on college, but seriously, she doesn't have the right to be giving advice on such important medical matters. It's just kind of ironic that she hasn't claimed to be a psychologist yet on her website, considering she shares more than a seasoned doctor. Oh, and she also tends to over-exaggerate overt displays of DID for views and using her switches as clickbait. But on the flip side, there are instances where she appears inconsistent, like in this TikTok video where she shows her different alters, but they all have the same look and hairstyle, when in others she looks entirely different for those alters. It's really starting to frustrate me because she also labels her channel as a mental health education platform, yet her research seems as shallow as a quick Google search. You can see her just recycling the same information over and over again, like it's stuck on a loop. I mean, who's she trying to kid here? A kid? Back in the early days of her channel, things were actually way worse because she acted like she was a complete professional. But then Sergio Costa, a guy she worked with on content and scripts, persuaded Didi to stop. But now they're tangled up in a legal mess and it's drained over 200,000 euros. And if you were a fan of hers before, how are you feeling now? Now that all of these hidden things are coming up to light. It's quite the shocker, isn't it? I'd really like to hear your thoughts on this, so let me know in the comments down below. But hey, if you're still in denial or can't process these facts, I'd like to just mention that these are things that are obviously backed up by a collection of evidence. And oh, it gets way worse. We have just barely touched the iceberg that is dissociated. Like I mentioned, stealing alters and shutting down anyone that calls her out. What's that about? It seems like the issues with her just keep piling up, with plenty of proof on Reddit of people she's shut down after copying their alters. Here is just a few examples. It's just really sad and infuriating to see that trauma survivors don't seem to matter unless they are connected to Didi. She just casually asks people on Facebook for her next alters, which is absolutely disgusting and concerning considering everything she preaches on YouTube. And when people try to call her out on it, she just quickly blocks them and tries to hide any traces. And by the way guys, I've come to expect that some of her supporters might come after me for speaking out in this video, claiming the evidence is fake because the survivor's identity isn't disclosed. But seriously, don't survivors usually prefer to stay anonymous to avoid more backlash and trauma? I mean, they've already been through so much with their personal information being leaked, or in this case, taken. And this is exactly why people are intimidated by her. She's incredibly effective at shutting down those who speak the truth. So among her 25 alters, let's talk about this one. That's probably the most well known. Just like other systems out there making exclusive TikTok accounts, Didi also made one for some of her alters. This seems like a great idea. One of them being Mara. So, according to her, Mara serves as both as a persecutor and a protector. She was basically a copycat of some demonic character, And just as she loves to copy other people's stuff, she also swiped this alter away from Mallory Schreidel's TikTok. This account is also undeniably sexual and sensual in nature. As Mara, she shares videos that involve suggestive actions such as humping the air and discusses hypersexuality. God, feeling totally queasy right now. Our all-around mental health guru is pulling this kind of crap? Really? And despite stating that her content is not suitable for those under 18, well, don't be surprised because she seems to be targeting minors in this, which is extremely concerning. She also objectifies teens and inappropriately sexualizes children's songs as well. But of course, she's got to reason and defend herself from her haters. So she goes on to the claim, "We use TikTok for fun, not for work." Oh, seriously? There's still a hint of aspiration for professionalism? Well, good luck with that. Let's just hope her potential clients don't stumble upon this video. If they do, well, lucky for me and them, I've saved one of her future victims. I'm just saying, if you do have a therapist and you find a video of them similar to this, what would you generally be feeling after seeing that? Is that someone you would trust your whole mental well-being with? Honestly, now that we're shining a light on all her shady stuff that usually gets swept under the rug because she has the backing to clean up her mess, I can't help but wonder about those who gave testimonials on her website. And if they were to see this, how would they react? What do you guys think? But right now, it's crystal clear that Didi isn't exactly putting decency and ethics at the top of her list. If you visit her channel, you'll notice that she hasn't posted anything for about 9 months, but it's safe to assume she'll make a comeback eventually. But what's really perplexing here is the lack of concern from her fans or connections regarding the ongoing issues. I mean, seriously, what's driving their acceptance of her behavior? And considering the reach of Didi's platform compared to others, she really needs to improve her approach, ensuring it doesn't contribute to the toxicity surrounding mental health issues, as I fear she's just doing the opposite of what she claims to be doing. And how come she just never seems to get called out for this? There's no backlash, and people just seem to follow her blindly. I can't help also think that because of her higher numbers and her being on Anthony's channel in the past, people just blindly follow because having a bigger follower count means that you can't lie. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But like always, I think this is a very serious topic and one that should certainly be out there. If you guys wouldn't mind leaving a comment and like, as it does help the algorithm and helps push these types of videos, I would appreciate that massively. With all that being said, thank you guys for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I hope you've had a great week, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye bye.